Hey guys, welcome back to Parts Factory Australia. Today we're going to be working on this Ford Falcon, specifically changing the air conditioning compressor. Now before we do get started, I wanted to remind you, these systems, this air conditioning system may be full of compressed Freon gas. So first things first, we need to determine if you've got gas in your system. If your aircon still works, but it works maybe poorly, you're still going to have gas in your system. So realistically, you need to go ahead and cruise over to an air conditioning specialist and have them actually evacuate the gas out of the car, etc., etc. If you've had an accident, split your condenser, or you know for a fact there's no Freon gas or pressurized gas in your system, we can continue to do this job without going to any specialists, etc., etc. But no matter what, at the end, you're going to be visiting someone anyway to have the system gassed. You're not going to be able to do that yourself unless you're a mechanic yourself. But other than that, we're going to be doing the job, physically changing the compressor off and on. It'll save you a bit of money, but yeah, as I said, you're still going to be making that trip anyway. So, right, so I'm expecting this job to take about half an hour. We're going to move a few of the little intake hoses, etc., to free up some space in the area. We're going to undo 4 10mm bolts, making sure we use a coarse spline 10mm bolt socket rather, so that we don't thread the head of the little bolts that bolt into the block. Other than that, the thing's pretty straightforward. Move the tensioner a bit and take the belt off without dropping the belt off completely, so we don't have to go and get a little diagram to work out the belt orientation, etc., etc. So yeah, we're gonna jump straight into this one now, guys. Oh, one last thing, Parts Factory Australia, of course, we have all this stuff available on our website. I think the current price for this compressor is $350 with a 3-year warranty. So if you're in the market for a compressor, make sure you head onto the website. I'll chuck the link top right of the video, and in the bottom of the video you can just click the title and it drops down below, and yeah, you can click on that link, head over, get the compressor on its way to you, and even have this one off waiting so you can just go bang as soon as it arrives and you're ready to go. Alrighty, let's jump into it. Alrighty, so we got this little ram air intake snorkel. We're going to get rid of it. If you don't have rusted bolts, this is going to go smoothly. If you do, you're going to have to really get your weight into it. Here you go, 1, 2. Find a nice little place to put all your bolts, because you're going to have a few of them. I'm going to put them up there in the corner. You can now just grab this ram air, give it a bit of a wiggle, and it'll just pop off like that. Just stick it out of your way. Okay, so the compressor's just there. Grab my torch. Literally, it's actually pretty easy to access. It's not these ones, it's these little 10mm. And now you can see why I said we're going to be using a coarse spline socket. You do not want to burr the threads of them, you will not get it off. But the next step, we're going to get rid of this airbox. Pretty much in our way. We can undo this little flathead, and then we can undo this part here, and the whole thing will pop up. Alrighty, so you got the 2 10mm here, and you might have 2 down the bottom there. My guy has removed his in the past, so I get a bit of a head start. We're going to take our little 10mm out here, 1 and 2. We're going to leave this one because all that can stay. Place your bolts up out of the way somewhere safe. Now remember, we need our little flathead to undo that hose clamp, so I'll grab that. Right, so we're now just going to use our little flathead. Loosen it off a bit. A lot. Then you should, so that seems to have a wire running through it that isn't being used. Oh yes, he's done that just so it doesn't fall into the area there. Got a random wire that isn't being used, just cut it out of the way. Very blunt knife.
I don't even know if that's going to cut it.
Oh yeah, literally. Oh my god, it's not.
The worst knife.
There we go, there goes the clip. Alright, just leave that plug out of the way. Now, you should just be able to grab your airbox, give it a wiggle, and the whole thing will just pop out of this area here. Might take a little bit of strength, but there it is there. Right, so there's your compressor there. You can see you have those 4 10mm. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and you got 1 on the back. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to undo this one with a little spanner, loosen it off a bit, and we're going to see if there's any Freon gas left in this system. Alrighty, so we're just undoing the 10mm on the back. We had a little, but other than that, nothing. This is what we're looking for. They're quite long, so I don't think you're not getting somewhere. There it is there. Grab your bolt, otherwise it will fall. And just, again, somewhere safe that you're not going to forget. Now this little hose, they're usually pretty solid. Yeah, because down here, it's still attached there. So what we're now going to do is we're going to undo our little wire, this one here. You can literally just grab and see a little tab on the bottom. You can grab it and just pull it off. Now we're going to do our fan belt tensioner. Pretty straightforward. Alrighty guys, so you now need a 3/8 drive wrench, quite a long one, because our objective is this fan belt. We want to loosen it off, pull it off the pump, and let it slack down, sit down there, with trying not to lose it off all the other pulleys, because then that turns the job into a bit of a nightmare. So you use the 3/8 drive wrench and you take it, clockwise, and you can watch as I take it clockwise, you lose tension. So that means you can grab it on the pump, drag it around, and then just put it straight back onto the other side, and that's it. Literally leave it there. Try not to move any further than that. You can leave that bar in there while you're here. Just keep all of it lined up on all the pulleys. Leave it all, because now your compressors stand alone and it's ready to be pulled off. Okay guys, coarse spline 10mm. Not a fine spline. You can come in straight under your bolt, nice and straight. One. Nice and straight, nice and flush. Two. You got your ones down the bottom. They're going to be a little bit more difficult. If you got the right tools, you should be right. You can just come straight down. Nice and flush. Get on there. One, and of course the last one over here, that one was already loose. And as you can imagine, all the bolts all the way out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Your compressor, put your hand under it, it will fall. You can drop it out the rear at the back, that's how I used to do it. And of course it'd then be time to put your new compressor back in. Now, as you can imagine, this video is just purely for demonstration purposes only. But if I was doing this for a paying customer, I would grab the Parts Factory Australia pump that we sell. They're basically OEM replica guys. I'm not going to give you the runaround. They're just a simple aftermarket replacement. Straight on, we supply it with a 3-year warranty anyway. So if anything goes wrong with it, as long as you've got your receipts of purchase, we just send you out another one. What's our failure rate been? 1 in every 300 or 400. Yeah, guys, these days, this is how you do it. You get your aftermarket pump, stick it on your car, and happy days, you get your aircon pumping cold air again. Alrighty guys, so as you can imagine, I'm going to stick the bolts back in that pump, leave that one on the car. The whole process in reverse, but then of course, you need to go and get your aircon re-gassed. Now, any decent aircon specialist is also going to ask, hey, have you replaced your receiver dryer? Whoops. Because whenever you do have a drama with your aircon pump, usually the contaminants kind of push through the whole system, sometimes clogging up your receiver dryer. So you can always replace that while you're down here as well. It's just at the back there, but we'll have a separate video on that. Alrighty guys, so we're going to tighten up our bolts, stick our fan belt back on, stick all the airbox back in, and of course that rear main seal area, which you're going to need some new seals as well. It doesn't include in our kit. You got to buy them on eBay, get them to you before you start this job. They literally just pop on onto this pump housing here. There's 2 little seal spots. Give this area a little clean down. Make sure it's, you know, not looking like that grimy and disgusting. You can see it's got all that gunk all over it. Clean all that up just with a bit of sandpaper, fine sandpaper. But of course you'll have your new compressor, so the surface of the compressor won't need to be cleaned. But yeah, let's jump straight back into that. Alrighty, let's tighten these bolts back up. going to come through with a spanner and do them by hand in a second. The ones down the bottom. Alrighty, so we grab our little spanner, finish it off by hand usually, just to ensure the correct tightness. Not too tight, it's about 2 fingers tight. Same thing over here, you want to make sure you're nice and flush so you don't thread those bolts. Now the ones down the bottom will need to be done by a little wrench. Alrighty, remember 2 finger tight. I've used a little wobbler to get in here. Alright, so it's now time to put this little back part back on. It's literally just line it up. It's 1 bolt through the guts. What you can actually do is put the bolt in before you bring those hoses up and then slot the hoses in, but let's see how I can do it. Oh, screw it, I'll just put the bolt in like I said. Bolt in first. Don't drop it like that. Bolt in first. Not too tight, and you can just bring the hose up into place, slotting them in. What in the world? Get in. There we go. Okay, then remember our little spanner we had before, ratcheting spanner, that's the best for doing this job. To the left. Okay, let's put the plug back on. That was easy. And then we grab our belt, take this to the right, wrap the belt around, trying not to lose it off any of your other pulleys. You can tuck it over the compressor, hopefully. Goes there. Might be a little harder to get off than it was to get on, as you can expect. Now down below I've lost it off my balancer 1 inch, so I'm going to put my hand down there and hopefully I can just push it back on a bit. So guys, you need to make sure before you start your car the belt has to be flush on all the pulleys. Doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be straight. So if you see it hanging off, it's hanging off here, it's hanging off there, it's hanging off on the balancer, if it's hanging off on the tensioner, that's a problem. Make sure it isn't. It should be all straight. Mine looks excellent. So we're coming towards the end. We'll grab our airbox. Remember this plug that we had that old mate has zip tied that thing to. We can just put that out of the way. I actually don't know what that's for. Tucking your airbox back in, as we already all know, it's going to be a bit of a pain to get in there. This little pipe gets in your way, but once you pop it back in, you can just tuck that air hose back in like that. First of all, we'll tighten this clamp up nice and tight, and then remember our 2 10mm that we had just up here, stab them in, tighten them up. Just give it a nice little shove like so. 1, 2, remember it's your 10mm. You can stick it back on a little rattle gun, just like this. 1, 2. That's going to sit there like that. Now, of course, we had our little clip, which we can now reassemble back onto the box. It's literally just tuck it in underneath. Okay, so make sure none of these little wires or whatnot are in your way, and you can now bring your little snorkel back in, slotting it back on, lining up your 2 Phillips head screw holes, stab them in by hand, finish them with your drill. Alrighty guys, it's really as simple as that. This whole job has taken less than 20 minutes. Realistically, it's because the aircon compressor is in such an easy to access place. Couple 10mm bolts, in and out, new one on. And now it's just a little trip off to your air conditioning specialist, any one of your choice, usually about $100 to put the gas into a system such as this old AU Falcon. Alrighty guys, my name's Lucas Drabsch, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.